I would now like to invite Swami Shantatmanand Ji, and I'd like to introduce him. Revered Swami Shantatmananda has just taken over as the Secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission, New Delhi. He succeeds Swami Gokulananda as an able administrator and spiritual mentor in the continuing tradition of his predecessor. Swamiji's expertise in the area of financial administration and fund management has been the cornerstone of financial transparency and accountability at the headquarters of the Ramakrishna Mission in Belur Math, Kolkata, where he had a long stint of 30 years. During his tenure, the branch centers of the worldwide Ramakrishna Mission received new impetus in streamlining their financial records and policies. This went to further reinforce the outstanding degree of transparency and propriety in matters of finance, where the Ramakrishna Mission is known to embody in its administration. Swamiji was also a pioneering influence in setting up an NGO in the suburbs of Kolkata called Sharda Seva Sangha, which is managed by 100 trained women volunteers. It happens to be one of his exceptional achievements in the area of women's empowerment, which is a developmental area close to his vision of nation building. The other areas which continue to relentlessly engage him with human development are disaster management and value education. Swamiji is a self-professed advocate of a character-building and man-making value education based on universal insights, which are common to all spiritual traditions, as presented by Vivekananda and Vedanta, which he feels should impact our educational structure and policies extensively. Swamiji is also acutely knowledgeable in the art, form and practices of ritualistic worship, to which the Ramakrishna Mission has imparted its own pristine tradition of spirituality. Swamiji is very close to youngsters and inspires them towards a life of purpose, dedication and service with a rare passion that is characteristic of the mission of Swami Vivekananda. We are really honored to have you, Swamiji, and I'd request you to say a few words.
Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Friends, I came to know about this wonderful occasion only this afternoon, thanks to Shruti ji, and I feel really happy that I could get a chance to participate in this. So I am not much aware of this book or those developments, but I just glanced through the book, and it's very clear that the authors deserve all congratulations and encouragement for a wonderful effort. In fact, more and more such efforts would go a long way in help a better understanding of India in the United States and also other Western countries. This one of the items dealt in the book, I shall briefly touch about it, because after all the great scholarly speeches that you have heard, I would like to bring the audience to a little down-to-earth level and talk a little more about at a easily understandable language and level. You see, the one aspect, what has been said about the book Kali's Child, I will discuss briefly about that, but then we can take it as a representative approach to the other works also. So although even that book I haven't read, because we got a copy of it, some of the monks, but we could hardly go through the first few pages because it's such worthless stuff. We thought that it's not worth wasting our time over such a work. But then we could understand the approach of the author basically, and that's what I would like to tell you briefly about. See, probably it is centered on this postmodernist approach of trying to read in between lines, always trying to find a negative meaning as to what is apparently visible on the surface. This is one of the approaches, probably our scholars would endorse that view, whether I am correct. So Kripal has taken a very deliberate stand that whatever is apparent, whatever is talked about, it's all different, and he should delve deep into that and do a lot of psychoanalysis and all that. Unfortunately, he got as a research guide a person who is totally unfit to be a research guide. That Wendy Doniger, she has done quite a lot of damage all round, I believe. I think in several other works are also she's being quoted. So that way, you know, although they are supposed to have done a psychoanalysis of Sri Ramakrishna's life, I think it is they who deserve to be psychoanalyzed and shown the right approach to life. So, you see, the point is, it's Sri Ramakrishna is now being accepted, bowled over by more and more people. It's not just gullible Indians or Hindus who don't know much or who are not intellectual and all that. Great scholars have written extraordinary things about him. They've analyzed his life and death. And you see, a person, at least I hope Kripal would give some concession to Swami Vivekananda at least, in terms of his understanding or his intellectual powers and all that. So such a person had lived very closely with him, observed him day and night. And in fact, Swamiji was very famous for his rejecting anything that was not to his, where it would fail his test of truth or acceptability. So I don't think he would have tolerated even the least if ever there was any such tendency in Sri Ramakrishna. Now the main problem comes from Kripal's total lack of knowledge in depth of the Bengali language and much more the nuances of the expressions used. Quite often he forms wrong opinions. We know he had come to our Institute of Culture in Calcutta, sat in the library, and with the dictionary he was trying to understand the works of Sri Ramakrishna. So how can such a person produce any work worth its name? So obviously he was quite off the target. Now what really set us thinking also whether there is any greater sinister motive behind all this. Is it just an intellectual work, or are they afraid of such influences spreading across in America, whether somebody is really funding people to write such deliberate works, such influences are curbed? That is, of course, probably Rajiv ji may be able to throw greater light on such matters, because he has been dealing with every such topic. So what we thought was, several requests came to us for writing a rebuttal and contradicting whatever he has. So some of the seniors in the Velumat, even there was, I believe there was some discussion in the Rajya Sabha, and finally Dr. Narasimha Rao himself discussed about it, and there was a talk of banning that book also. Then finally we said that no, by banning it you only unnecessarily giving it undue importance, and more and more people would start reading it for nothing. More than anything else, we were worried that people shouldn't waste their time reading such books. We were not worried about any damage being done to Hinduism or to Sri Ramakrishna for that matter. So that way, we never thought that it's something worth being contradicted in a great deal. Still, one of our Swamis in America, Swami Tyagaranda, has done extensive work on that. He has produced a huge volume, I think, of writings contradicting many of the things which Professor Kripal has analyzed and he is supposed to have unearthed and found and all that. And in fact, personally at least, Dr. Kripal himself had acknowledged that he had made several errors in that book. Although officially perhaps he didn't come out with any such declaration. They had met also a few times. He came down to our center where Swami Tyagaranda is staying, and so they had discussions. Now the idea, the Hindu or the Indian idea of religion, mysticism, spirituality, etc. are totally different. See, probably Dr. Kripal and many others who are writing such books, they have been largely influenced by some of the happenings in the Christian monasteries in a big way. There homosex is a terrible problem. And also, the debates that are going on even in the American parliaments, etc., whether it should be made publicly, whether it should be allowed and things like that, whether in the churches it should be made, actually they should be allowed to have that kind of involvement. So in the context of all that, probably some of it might have been written. Also that might have influenced them. And another most important factor is, they have been dealing it at a very, very totally different level. Right? For example, the experiential part of a spiritual life, the type of things that are being talked about, I think really, really they are totally incompetent to deal with at these levels. So obviously there's a huge gap between that understanding and what Sri Ramakrishna's life was. So obviously, they were nowhere near that. They only went through some of the literature and all that, tried to have some analysis, and completely, it was totally irrelevant, quite off the mark, and really it has no meaning whatsoever. That is why some of these books have come about like that. So whatever our friends have done, it's no doubt a wonderful effort, and it would go definitely a long way to at least remove some of the misgivings. But then, as Rajiv ji has clearly said, more and more there might be, this such kind of stray writings here and there, but the fact is a larger and larger number of people are taking to Indian spirituality. They are coming to India, the huge following even people like Sri Ravi Shankar ji and others are having today. So that is pointing to something different. You just wait now, our Swami Ramdev is going to burst like a bombshell in the American society, and you will see their reaction. So you see the influence on the other side is much more larger and much more powerful. So let such few stray things also be there, maybe, so that to know that what is really good and what's really bad, at least to distinguish that way. Some of it is probably one can't avoid all that. However, we once again congratulate the authors and we wish them success, and I hope they will follow it up with further works. Thank you.